So in this segment, we're going to be discussing the Tories blaming Boris Johnson for record levels of immigration, also blaming Priti Patel. So I'm sure Priti Patel must be really happy about that. So let's have a listen.
Let's look at what's actually happened. Those net migration figures were for 2022. That was not under this Prime Minister, wasn't really under Suella Braverman.
That's right. Don't blame yourself. Blame me.
We are the ones who are actually taking a serious look at what can be done.
So 2022, again, I'm not sure if I think she was actually a government minister. I'm pretty sure Rishi Sunak was up until his resignation. So again, collective responsibility exists. If you are unhappy with anything going on with the government, really unhappy, you resign because collective responsibility exists, even if it's not your area. If you don't like something, you should resign. Otherwise, you share responsibility for it. Hence why Robin Cook resigned before the Iraq War, because he did not support it fundamentally. And he did not want to be a part of a government pushing to go into Iraq. So if you had a fundamental problem with the record high immigration, you should have resigned. So should Rishi Sunak have, if he had a problem with it.
Given what happened under Prime Minister Boris Johnson. The fact of the matter is we have been working on a plan for sending people to Rwanda for processing that was supposed to act as a deterrent.
So again, we're talking about migration, right? Asylum seekers make up way less than the amount of workers and student visas that we're handing out right now. So even if you manage to deport some asylum seekers to Rwanda, it would not make a dent in this number of 745,000 because they're not the bulk of the number. The bulk of the number are students and workers. So her point makes no sense.
It was not us that stopped that. The Supreme Court has given lots of reservations, which we're now looking at. We're talking about.
So now the Supreme Court's the problem. So Boris Johnson was the problem, Priti Patel was the problem, and now the Supreme Court's the problem. Takes no responsibility.
Emergency legislation. The Home Secretary is looking at salary thresholds. The Home Secretary is looking at dependents. So we are doing serious work. But what I can't do when I'm sitting here at a global investment summit, talking about the economy, working on businesses, is then give intimate detail of what I think should be happening when I am not privy to any of that detail. And that's what I'm trying to make clear. I think we should do whatever it takes to make sure that we can control and secure our borders.
But our borders are secure. Like, you can talk about people crossing the channel. But again, if you set up a processing centre in France, that wouldn't really be happening. So this argument of our borders are unsecure is not true. And if it's the case that it's not secure because the channel crossings, these channel crossings have been happening for years. So it's clear the Tory party have no idea how to deal with the borders being unsecure. So once again, the monster that they helped to create is eating them again.
But it is not a silver bullet. There will be many other things that will be required. Just let me finish if I may, Justin. We've never used a plan like Rwanda before. So it's quite clear that migration policy needs...
Again, the Rwanda plan is a red herring because it's not going to get this figure down of 745,000. It's not going to dent that figure, so it's a red herring.
Multiple levers. This is an additional one which the government is working on, and the Prime Minister has been very clear that he will do whatever it takes to make sure that flights get off the ground.
Again, like, it's not the main problem is student visas because universities need them, and you need foreign students and workers because the economy is cooked, and we need workers for the record vacancies we have. So it's complete nonsense. She was asked about net migration, and she's talking about Rwanda. The journalist should have done a much better job here. I couldn't hear their audio, which was very strange. It must be the way the BBC audio is set up. But she again here, once again, she blames Boris Johnson.
From my perspective, I agree with the Prime Minister. It is far too high. But I would say to the comments that you said Boris Johnson made, I haven't seen his column. The points-based system was one that he brought in, and the figures that we're looking at are figures that came out while he was Prime Minister. So this Prime Minister, this Home Secretary, and the rest of the Cabinet, as well as all of government, will be working hard to make sure that we bring it down. As far from my perspective...
So you can see here, she blames Boris Johnson. And this is going to be the Tory attack line of this is a new... Once again, they're going to use this, we're a new government. Even though a lot of these were part of the old cabinet, we're a new, fresh government. It's not our fault the numbers aren't coming down or these problems aren't being dealt with because we've only been here for a year. Complete nonsense. Like, it's the same party. And that's something the media should be focusing on. And the Labour Party and the Lib Dems is like, no, you're not new. You're the same old people that have been here this whole time. You are to blame for the problems in this country. So, Boris Johnson managed to do this shtick successfully. I don't think Rishi Sunak will be able to get away with it because he was still part of that cabinet. I don't think he'll be able to kind of pretend he's new. I think people are sick of the Tory party in general, and that's one of the fundamental problems he's going to run into. Boris Johnson's a very unique politician in that regard. Rishi Sunak is not. The Rishi Sunak type politicians are a dime a dozen. People who can not bat away questions properly, who don't have any charisma, don't have much energy, and are terrible in the media. He's going to struggle a lot during this general election campaign, and I think the Tories will in general, because they cannot pretend they are a new government and they are trying to deal with this because they're fundamentally failed. They've created this monster in high immigration, and they've said it's a major problem, and then when people ask them, well, what are you going to do to deal with this major problem, they have no answers. So anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and remember, if you want to blame someone else for your problems, do it. It's the Tory way, and I'll catch you next time.